tried to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. You have to let it all go, Neo. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Free your mind.
This is the Mind is Mine podcast. What it do, ladies and gentlemen? Episode 4. Happy 314 day. Shout out to St. Louis, man. Big shout out to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Hey, for my 4th episode, we got a good friend of mine, Story Stitcher's own Traydon.Inspires.
For sure.
Hey, man, the mic is yours. What do you do? What do you like to do? Explain yourself.
So right now I've been stepping into my purpose of helping people to step into their inner child and their creativity and their imagination. So for me, my way of doing that is through art, poetry, dance, and just all around expressing whatever comes to me through different ways, different forms, spontaneous, planned, different things of that nature. So that's currently where I'm at, and what I'm being is that state of imagination.
That's what I like to hear. To piggyback off what you were saying about spontaneity, I didn't have any questions written down because most of our conversations, like I said before I started this, is spontaneous. And, we just go down that rabbit hole of, mysticism, imagination, the inner child, what we can bring to the world through a different perspective that is centered through mysticism and ancient knowledge, ancient teachings. And honestly, the questions emerge themselves, honestly. And having conversations like that really gives you the opportunity to be a vessel and allow whatever questions or answers or even experiences that you want to share, stories that you want to share, just to come about out of thin air. So I'm very excited for this. I know you're a talker. You're somebody that likes to speak a lot. You're very good with spoken word. You're going a little deeper into your creativity a lot more. I see it over in Story Stitchers. This man does. If you need a hook, he got you. He's the hook king. So yeah, holla at your boy if you need a hook for a song. But
For sure.
What I read it a little bit on the cards that you did, the Circle One. Shout out to the Circle One. But kind of give me like your start and why and when you started to emerge into the perception that you have now and when to change the world in the ways that you want to do it.
So for me, it really started when I was a child and I would ask those questions like, who's up in the sky? And starting to dance with nature, sing with nature, speak with nature, hug trees, and fully immerse myself within being. And it evolved into this deep wanting to know myself that other people attempted to give me the answer, like God or Jesus or Christ or all these different things. But at a very young age, as I experimented with these different knowings, I came to the conclusion at around when I was 12 or so that everything is connected in some form. Like every religion, every understanding is connected. And the more that you investigate and you go into your curiosity and you explore, you will find this fact. And so it led me to going through a lot of trials to where with this knowing, I had to now basically unroot a lot of the belief systems that were put into me. And that process led to me being into relationships that did not work out, friendships that were both beneficial and some that were devastating, and leading me on this journey to now being in the 22nd arc of my story to realizing more fully with all the mentors that I've had that the essence of experience is being able to be here in the present moment and utilizing your imagination to create wonderful pictures and stories for yourself and even inspiring others to do so. And that's why I feel my name emerged, Traydon.Inspires, is this deep ability of mine to breathe life into other people just by me being into a space, which is something I wanted to do when I was a child, was travel the world and inspire people. Back then it was through Christianity, but now it has evolved just through my beingness.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm sure you realize is that your being, your very essence, is connected to the divine, is the divine. And essentially you're experiencing yourself, you're experiencing your own creation by creating through it. You know, it's a tongue twister. It's kind of crazy to think about. But, you know, I was falling into that path a decade after you. So like you said you were getting into it in 12. I didn't get into it till I was 21. I didn't come from a religious or any type of spiritual background at all. I had to initiate that within my own. And I started in 2020, obviously with a lot of things starting to emerge. You know, the age of Aquarius first started, the split started as well. You know, the people that are wanting to awaken within themselves, go on the route, the path of self-realization, which is, you know, it's not an easy path by any means. It's only easy if you allow the uncomfort to surface and fight through that uncomfortness. But my path was fairly different, and it took some time for me to really have that confidence and actually embark on that journey fully, because, you know, me being 21, there's a whole line of experiences and wisdom that I've learned from my experiences, people around me, family, school, sports, because I was huge in athletics, mostly baseball and basketball. So it was like I had a lot of preconceived thoughts, a lot of preconceived notions, and attachment. And one of the biggest things that got me into my spiritual path now is Buddhism. And Buddhism was a huge catalyst and continues to be a huge catalyst to always remind me that if I stay attached to a certain desire, no matter what it may be, even if it's a desire that aligns with my path, then I'm able to be thrown off my path and still continue a path of suffering. Because I'm sure that you can agree with this. The spiritual path is nothing but a walk in faith. And you can't walk in faith if you don't surrender or have the will to surrender certain thoughts, certain words, certain actions, emotions, to see yourself for who you really are and actually walk down this path without any afflictions or temptations budging you off of it. Could you agree with that?
One of the things I found, and this was faith, the definition of faith being the trusting and into the unseen. And I would even add is the awareness of the unseen.
For sure. It's like one of the biggest problems that we have, we fall so deep into belief, but belief is like, I don't know, maybe so type of thinking, type of an approach to life. Faith is knowing and fully trusting in not only the divine, but within yourself. I can't fully trust the divine if I don't trust who I am, because there's no sense of separation. And that was kind of one of the biggest things I had to get used to, is realizing that there is no such thing as separation. Separation does not exist. It's an illusion. Everything is already in the state of one. For us to learn and go through the human experience, we have to go through this illusion of separateness and interact with the environment around us. Because if everything was fully pure and formless, we wouldn't have anything like this. We wouldn't have a material reality. Everything would just be one. It would just be the light. And essentially, and I talked about this in some of my videos before, in sadhana, and how sadhana helps you break the cycle of samsara, which is the cycle that keeps you here on earth, of life, death, and rebirth, and even the cycle of suffering. The main goal is to return home, in oneness. And while you do that, you have to go through certain trials and tribulations and leave your mark on the world and give a foundation to the next generation after you to build off of, and constantly reimagine and recreate the world in real time.
I feel like, so I'm big on, I love words as being now working with children. One of the most important things is really articulating and being clear to them about the definition and different things of words, because that will create the foundation of how you see the world. When they pointed this, what's that, teacher? Oh, that's a tree. Oh, that's that. So when we're talking about belief and faith, belief, if you break down the word, it has the word be and it has the word lie. If you hear it, it's also be and it's leaf. So belief, it's a beingness that has the aspect of being false. And a belief system is systems that you have internally that are these beingness that can be lies, that when you place them inside of you and operate from them, that those will become your ceiling as far as what you're able to achieve based off of what you believe. A leaf, right? When a leaf is something that when it comes from the tree, it goes with the wind. Mm-hmm. So if you think of a leaf, it bees with the spirit of the wind.
In the study of words, breaking it down, that's etymology, correct?
Yes, that's etymology.
Etymology.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like to add my own creative spin on certain words. So like a leaf is something that it goes with the wind. So when you have a belief, think of it as a leaf that puts you in a certain direction. And that if that belief is limiting, you will hit a wall and you won't be able to flow naturally how you're supposed to. Faith, right? And faith often, to me, it connects to the word fate. Your faith will determine your fate. Fate being, the outcome. So faith being this trust in the unseen. As you trust in the unseen, which the unseen is the subtleties of life, the fact that you can feel the wind, you can know the air is there, but you have never seen it. This faith is you trusting in this unseen that is the thing that animates all things, which we call energy, which some of us call God, some of us call prana, some of us call chi.
Ki.
Yeah.
Chi, ki.
Yeah.
Chi, ki. Ki, chi.
And so with that, this trust in the unseen, realizing that you create your reality from this invisible force, this invisible space that is called the mind, that is called the subconscious and conscious mind. When you have the trust in how those things work, you go beyond belief and you create beliefs as a way to, I like to say, is to shortcut or as a permission slip to do things. Mm-hmm. So if you have a belief in your ability to, lift weights or different things of that nature, that in a sense is giving you permission to do that thing. And faith is this trust that everything will work out for your good. I like to say it's like walking on an invisible bridge that once you take a step, the path appears. And as you take another step, the path appears. As long as you're not fearful that you're going to fall, the path will just continue to appear as you take a step.
Facts. And that's the pathless path, honestly. And I kind of touched on it on my last video. Check out my last video. sadhana, and taking control of your karma. Essentially, walking that pathless path. The reason why it's pathless is because when one embarks on the spiritual path, the path of mysticism, and takes it seriously, that path is always uncovering itself with each step. Yeah. But the path that I take is not necessarily the path you're going to take. There's no such thing as walking the exact same path. Just like there's no such thing as the exact same day. Yeah, there will be similarities and we'll cross paths, but by no means is the path I'm going to walk similar, the exact same as yours. And it's not meant for that, because that is what makes the human experience so special, is that we can relate to certain things, but also what we can really learn from is our differences. The difference between you and I is probably where we can come together. It's the reason why we have in this podcast in the first place, is that we're here not only to explain our similarities, but also the difference in you and the difference in me, and learn off those differences. And by taking control of our karma, we are walking by faith, because karma implies that we have to let go of the past karma. We have to let go of that. We have to move past that. And how we move past that is by controlling our thoughts, our words, and our actions, which is the accumulation of karma. And by creating our own karma, we create our own reality. We create our own fate. We walk by faith because we understand we are in the driver's seat of our karmic contracts, of that energy. And when we create karma in real time, then we're creating future abundance for us in the future as well. So what you were saying definitely aligns with what I said in that video, and how sadhana, which is Sanskrit for spiritual practices or meditation or whatever that may be, is the vessel, is the vehicle that gets you to that self-realization and rewriting that karma. Yeah.
And so, because I love to play with words. If you break down the word karma, what's the first word you hear? Car.
Yeah.
How do you take control of a car? What are you supposed to do? A car is a what? Vehicle. Mm-hmm. And it's a vessel. And you get in the car and you have to learn how to control that car. You have to learn how to drive it. You have to learn how to put on the signals correctly.
In terms of this car, and in terms of the vessel, and when I say your thoughts and your words and your actions, how do we commit that? Through our mind, which is a tool, and throughout the greatest vessel in all of history, which is the human body.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the car.
Exactly. And when we're talking about karma and different things of that nature, someone once told me that utilizing the unseen forces is like utilizing just your conscious mind, which is me being able to interact. That's the rational. That's
the decision making.
That's decision making. Yeah. That's only me using first gear in the car. Mm-hmm. After a while, I'll burn out the car just using first gear. But when you decide to use the unseen forces, that's you unlocking and allowing yourself to use the other gears. And that's taking more control of your vehicle, your vessel. And you have a low probability of crashing into somebody. If someone does some accident or whatever, you're able to control and not crash into that. So your ability to be able to operate this car, this karma, is your ability of being able to live a loving and true life that doesn't have a bunch of accidents where your wheel fall off or anything like that. You have to take care of the car. If you don't take care of the car, then you're going to have problems. If you don't take control of your life, if you don't take care of your vessel,
somebody else is going to do it for you. You're going to be a part of somebody else's karma without being conscious of your own. And I'm glad that you brought up the subconscious mind too, because that is part of the unseen forces if we don't direct our conscious mind towards it. And if we allow our subconscious to become unseen and continue to be unseen, then our karma is going to constantly be ridden by the subconscious mind that doesn't know what's real or fake, and it's acting off memory. So if our karma is dictated by the subconscious mind, which is ruled by ignorance in a way, it doesn't know what's real or fake until the conscious mind steps in and says, this is what's real, this is what's fake. If it doesn't have the help of the conscious mind or the realization of the conscious mind, then we are constantly writing our karma from memory. And if we write our karma from memory, aren't we just living in the past?
And what that goes into, then what is the past, present, and future? And so I was looking at this channeling by this by this being named Bashar, and he was talking about the essence of time and what the past mean and what past lives mean and what future mean. And he was saying, suppose that it's all a circle, that it's all happening at the same time, that when you look at the past, present, and future, or time as a circle, that when you affect your present, you simultaneously affect your past and your future. That when you say you're going back in time, when you're in the past, that means that in the present moment, you've put yourself in the former and not the right now.
And it's like, I'm not firsthand changing my past and changing the structure, but I'm changing my perception of what the past meant to me. It's like you can go back after some time, and I'm sure shadow work has brought a lot of this.
Shadow is an unseen force.
Exactly. So through that shadow work, now you're able to see the reason why you went through certain things in the past and change the past, not through the events that happened, but the perception of it and its impact of you in the future. And now you use your imagination coupled with the memory of the past and the new perception of the past to create something better from that memory starting in this present moment.
There's a technique. There's a couple. I'll talk about two. There's one called quantum jumping. And the essence of quantum jumping is that there are many different realities and earths and different things of that nature that are overlapping each other. And that you are able to, with your consciousness, able to jump into these different realities and get information from a version of yourself that is a billionaire or that's playing an instrument that they love playing. And you're able to get information from them and utilize it in this reality that you're in and basically shift the outcome or the fate of yourself by interacting with these different versions of yourself. So you by nature are revising your timeline by doing that. Or as I say, your storyline, you're revising your narrative. You're deciding to go back. I don't like that. I'm going to rewrite that by interacting. So you're able to quantum jump, quantum being basically the subatomic, the unseen. Yeah. You're able to jump into your inner child, change some of the traumas you had. Your perception has changed. You have changed because memory, they found, is malleable. It's very malleable. And then when you go back and remember things, it's not the same because you're not the same. When you change, your memory changes. So that means you're always time traveling in the present moment because you can't go anywhere but the present moment. Yeah. So quantum jumping is a tool or a permission slip that allows you to alter your past as well as get information from your future. Another one is by this mystic named Neville Goddard, and it was this technique
called... Shout out to Neville Goddard.
Yeah.
He was talking about the law of detachment, correct?
He talked about so many.
Yeah, he's really big on like the imagination and the power behind that.
He really big on that. Really big on that. That's why I love his work because it helps me with mine. Mm-hmm. And he talked about how you can use your imagination to rewrite your memories and and he called it revision. Mm-hmm. And it's basically, let's say the day that you had did not go the way that you wanted it to. You can go into your imagination right before you go to sleep or put yourself in a meditative state and basically relive out your day and relive it out the way you wanted it to. And he called this forgiveness. Because he says forgiveness from sin. Sin is missing the mark. He says forgiveness is realigning yourself with the ideal that you have after you have missed the mark. So if that day you have sinned, missed the mark, you rewrite it to forgive yourself and put yourself back in that vibrational state of, he called it the spirit of Jesus, the spirit of the Christ consciousness by basically rewriting. Yeah. And so if somebody did you wrong, forgiveness is You missed the mark. It happened. Rewrite it and then move on. And he had something in his book of a woman using this, and she basically had barely any use of her ankle because she had stubbed it on a chair. She had used this technique or revision, and the next day, her ankle was healed. And so this thing of revision, even quantum jumping, is used to, if you've had serious illnesses or different things of that nature, you can utilize your imagination as a state of revising and revise that experience. So we have full permission to be able to rewrite our reality however we please. What do you think the Mandela effect is? Like I was like, okay, if that's the case, what's happened to the Mandela effect? Well, that's a larger collective of people that has happened to, of them remembering it one way and a whole nother group of people remembering the other way. That we literally, as you were talking about the divide, we're shifting to where we remember two different realities, because we're now realizing that we have the ability to shift into whatever reality we want to the degree in which we're willing to imagine it.
I think that's also it's just like, you're not going beyond the surface level of things. If you're looking at the day as just like, oh, this happened, instead of asking why and like, what is reality? What is the universe trying to tell me? What is the universe trying to teach me? And taking each day like it's a lesson. If not, then you're just going to see the day at surface level, and you're going to continue to do that cycle over and over and over again. I like what you just said in terms of we have permission to rewrite our whole reality. And it takes me back to a certain chapter. I think it was called Suggestion, and Think and Grow Rich.
Auto-suggestion.
Yeah, auto-suggestion. Yeah. And
powerful.
How every thought that comes into mind, especially from the subconscious mind, are only suggestions. You don't have to listen to them because they're replaying in your mind. When you go into meditation and realize the power behind my words, the power behind my thoughts, and my actions that happen after that, you start to take more account of, okay, what's going through my head? Where are these thoughts going through my head right now? And are they real? Are they false? Is this the reality that I choose to write, or is this something that I need to abandon? And automatically having that type of that perception towards your own self, towards your own thoughts and your own words, now you're in a better position to rewrite reality, because you understand that not every single thought or every single word that happens within my being defines me and is also the truth, and is something that I have to listen to.
It's the awareness of it.
Yeah,
because the ability of revision and all these things is not like you like, I want to escape, so I'm gonna go into this delusion of this happened today.
Yeah, or you start it's drugs or stuff like that. You try to use things to cover that,
because in order for revision, all these things to work, you have to understand who and what you truly are.
And that's an uncomfortable conversation.
And being able to understand that this reality is just as valid as any other, that this experience is just as valid as any other experience. And with the awareness of that, you can rewrite things as you please, not from a space of delusion, but from a place of awareness of who and what you truly are.
Yes.
As a sovereign being. Mm-hmm. And so, as you were talking about with auto-suggestion, hypnotists utilize auto-suggestion. And there's this concept called mesmerizing, which is actually it's a form of hypnotizing, but it doesn't have to do with the suggestion and different things of that nature. What it basically, mesmerizing, which I did not know this, like that's where the word came from. It came from a man named Mesmer, that had utilized this technique of utilizing the subconscious mind. He didn't call it that because they didn't have those awarenesses back then. Yeah. But utilizing the subconscious mind, your subconscious mind, being able to have a person focus and then relaxing them, and then they're going in a deep state, and you auto-suggesting to yourself things and it being reflected in another person. And hypnotizing being the same thing, that it utilizes this form of auto-suggestion, that maybe your subjective mind, which is basically what controls your breathing and your heartbeat and digestion, when you tap into this, and it may have a different belief than what you have, you can focus auto-suggestion, which auto-suggestions are based in the present moment. Like, for instance, you are relaxing right now. You are falling to sleep. It's present moment, not before it's happening right now. That's how the auto suggestions work. And you utilize these, able to focus a outcome on your body or on another person if you're a hypnosis. By understanding how the subjective mind or subconscious mind works.
Exactly. And when you really pay attention to mantras as well and the power behind spoken word, every single chakra, at least the 7 main ones, because there's over 100 energy points within the body.
Meridians and Dantians, all the time.
But the main 7 chakras have their own mantra, and every single mantra is based in the present moment. There's I am, I feel, I do, I love, I speak, I see, and I know. And that full trusting is that I know, is that crown chakra, is Kether, is where God resides, and that is the highest spiritual point that you can access. That's why that chakra is technically outside of your body. It's a crown, it's a halo. So when you access that and let that come down, the Kundalini, let that come down into that strong belief that encourages surface level materialism, survival, sustainability, the root chakra, that knowing and that faith comes down to lift you up all the way through every single chakra and takes you back home to God, essentially.
The prodigal son.
Yeah. And doing those mantras, saying those mantras that reside with every single chakra is very, very important in your meditation to rewrite not only your own reality, but like these are different senses in the reality as well. These are not only connected to the 5 senses, but the extra sensatory senses as well, that go beyond physicality and material as well. So it's like standing your ground with those mantras and that spoken word automatically helps with creating your own reality. I felt myself circling around and saying the same thing over and over again. So let me cut it.
Yeah, mantras, just the ability that we have to reprogram ourselves utilizing words, vibration, music, to put ourselves in whatever state of being we want to be in. And let's break down what state of being is, right? The way I explain it is very simple, is that right now we're in the United States. Every state has its own laws, has its own, even though it's governed by the united body, has its own laws. Some has different regulations, have different leaders. When you were talking about states of being, which is states of embodiment, those different states have different rules, different beliefs, different things, different abilities. And when you're in these different states, different things are accessible. And what we call altered states are just not a separation, but they're the same. They're just another level of states of being that one can tap into. So we have access to these different states of being that we're able to tap into naturally. And when we have our energetic body, which is called chakras or prana and all those different things, when we have those things aligned and they're operating just like a choir properly, we have access to more states of being, because these higher states are more and more order. Mm-hmm. They're more ordered. They seem more complex, but they're ordered. And with these, we have access to the subtleties, like what some call astral projection. I call it astral expansion. Things like lucid dreaming, things like clairvoyance, clairsentient, all of these different things that you have access to, that is natural to this experience. Mm-hmm. That some people do unconsciously and don't know they're doing it sometimes.
Yeah.
Call it gut feeling and all these different things.
Yeah, that's intuition. People aren't aware of the intuition, which is the direct connection to your extrasensatory abilities.
Yeah.
And people need to embody that, because my life has become so much more easier when I'm connected to those energies, when I'm connected to those abilities. And I feel guided every step of the way. And every single time that I don't listen to it, I find out like, dang, I should have listened. Like I would have been on the right path for sure. I don't beat myself down about it, but it's just like perception. I look at it as like, instead of getting down on myself, I look at it like, dang, bro, I'm way more powerful than I think. I need to start listening to myself more. And that's the power of perception, because I used to, when I don't listen to my intuition, I used to feel very, what are you doing? You breaking your neck or something? Like, no, I used to feel very shameful, guilt. But now I look at it as, that's fine. Failure happens. You know, I'm not going to be successful every step of the way. You know, I have to go through some trials and tribulations, but
I would agree.
Yeah, this is for me to change now. Like that reaction and how I change this is completely up on my hands, because how I respond is completely up to me. I can't control direct reality.
Someone once said this, and they said that you're always successful in some way. You're always abundant in some way. And it's like you're either abundant in lack or you're abundant in prosperity. You're abundant in troubles or you're abundant.
I heard that.
Was
it Danny Morrow?
Well, I heard it from this channeling by this entity named Bashar. He talked about this. Like you're always a abundance of something. He said that you have the most love and support in your life, that you have the ability to believe that you don't have the most support and love in your life.
Facts.
You've been given free will to the point where you can believe you do not have free will. Like that's how much free will you have, to believe the complete opposite of what you are so loved that you have the ability to think and feel that you're not loved.
You are the human embodiment of God. Like you are creating God's creation in God's creation, within God's creation, which is crazy to think about. And it's hard for people to get to wrap their head around, because it's a paradox. There's a lot of paradoxical things that come with that. But once you understand the paradox and embody the paradox, you realize that I am all things. And polarity it's not a separation between two differences. If anything, it's just showing me one spectrum, and there's two different sides of the spectrum, but they're on one spectrum. They're essentially the same thing. I learned that in the Kabbalion. The Kabbalion for a while was like my Bible. Mysticism, correspondence, polarity, vibration, rhythm, gender, and I always forget that last one, mentalism, and just abiding by those rules, abiding by those hermetic principles have just completely opened up my perspective of life. And we're in a time right now where there's a war on perception. It's a spiritual warfare, and there's people in certain positions in life, the powers that be, quote unquote, understand how powerful perception is, because they know the same laws that you and I do, but they use them for their own means. And they also use them to hide those very superpowers and those very laws away from the public masses. Because when we fully integrate those laws and those abilities, we become more powerful than ever. we understand that we'll be able to understand that, hey, none of this war, none of this hunger, none of this homelessness has to happen. We're in control of that. But if anything, we're controlling our own boundaries and blockages for that to be a reality. We're standing in our own way, essentially. And that's why mine is huge for me, because essentially I'm giving power back to the people, not in the form of just money or material or validation, but self-realization. And I want to give the tools of self-realization, or a blueprint to self-realization, to people. I can't do it for you. It's impossible for me to do that, because like we said earlier, with the pathless path, the path that you take to realize yourself and then capitalize off that is completely different than the path that I take to do so. So essentially what Mine is giving the tools to transcend consciousness, to change the world through self-realization. And Traydon.Inspires does the same thing. And I appreciate you being here, because we've been aligned for a very long time. And now that we finally have this conversation, you know, it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I look at the word war, if you rearrange the words, you get the word raw. If you take the W and you flip it over, you get the word Mars. Mars in astrology has to do with
destruction.
Has to do with destruction. Has to do with the solar plexus. It has to do with
the solar plexus is the highest of the material realm. It's
it has to do with
domination.
Mars has to do with ego.
Yes,
exactly. And Mars is ruled by Aries. Now, if you take the word Mars and you rearrange it, you get Ram.
Yeah, he has the horns.
So everything. So it's not by accident that those words do that.
Yeah, because like I said, the powers that be understand what they're doing. Like, we don't understand the full language of English just yet. Like, I'm still learning. And there's a lot of words in there that we think they have a positive meaning, but they don't have a positive meaning at all. So we need to rewrite the way that we talk, think, and do things. Yeah,
yeah. And so going into Mars has to do with ego. So what is war? War is just a clash of egos. Mm-hmm. So how do you get past this clash of egos? Well, you go beyond ego, and that's beyond the solar plexus of the heart. The word heart, if you rearrange it, you get the word earth. And if you rearrange it, you get the word aether, which you could say is ether.
Yeah.
And so the secrets that I've found,
which is the life force, the unseen energy.
Yeah, it's the unseen, which you're only able to tap into from being in your heart and being grounded in your earth.
We were just talking about this the other day, is Christ consciousness is found within the heart. Because if you look at the tree of life, the Jewish tree of life, the heart is in the middle. The heart is beauty. And why it's so beautiful is because you see and you feel the form, the world of form, which is the bottom three chakras. Because you notice it's the one in the middle. You have even, and then you have even here. It's the one in the middle. It makes it odd. And it stands out from every single chakra because it's the one that stands on the line of chaos and order. It stands on the line of form and formless. It stands on the differences. And also it stands in the middle of severity and mercy, of the two polarities as well. So it's like you're seeing every side of the story. Yeah, you're seeing every side.
That's why people didn't understand why I don't think they understand why they do this.
Exactly. You're on every side of the story, and you can bring
it was
people
known
together.
Consciously and unconsciously that this is what Christians would do. Mm-hmm. And I was a preacher at the age of 11, and these were certain things that I started to pick up on unconsciously.
You were a preacher?
Yeah, I used to preach in church.
Drop a sermon right now. a 20-second sermon.
Well, I would say this: Jesus lies at the feet, because Jesus was in the sense the one who had disciples that were fishermen. Fishermen have to do with Pisces. Pisces is the fish. As you were talking about, Christ lies at the heart. Being able with the one with the open arms, welcoming you.
Ooh, also when you look at my bad,
and the Son of God lies at the crown. Jesus Christ, Son of God. Because just as I was saying earlier, when I had sprayed, when I was messing with, I was cleaning the table and the sun was shining in, and I was spraying the water and I saw a rainbow, and I realized like, oh, the sun, when the sun goes through a prism or when it goes through this water, it creates the colors. It creates the colors of the chakra, the body, and all those different things. It creates the rainbow. So the Son of God that creates that, once it becomes dense and dense and dense, it creates these different color, the different light spectrum. And then you have the Christ. And then you have Jesus at the feet.
The Christ,
which is all one and the same.
Yeah, for sure. Jesus is the man and the material. Son of God is the formless. Christ is the medium in which you take the wisdom and the teachings of the Son of God, and you bring it down to even the most dense parts of reality, to the most surface level materialistic parts of reality. Nate brought something up when he was here too. Roro, shout out to Roro. He brought up how Jesus was always with the murderers, the thieves, the prostitutes, all of them, which is, you can say, is the most dense and materialistic type of attributes that humanity can, what's the word? Embody. So him being in Christ, he was able to get the lessons of God and reach all the way to the most dense people in terms of their spirituality and being clouded by materialism, and give them those teachings.
Exactly. And he realized he moved within his path of what he was.
He's not the only one, too.
Of what he was meant to do. And there's so many other
Buddha, Shiva, Muhammad.
It's just like I see it. I like Avatar. Because it talks about
the different about it for the last couple of days.
Yeah, the different reincarnations, and you got and you got the person that's able to see Korra and Aang being able to see all their reincarnations, and that Jesus, Thoth, Horus, all these individuals were just previous reincarnations of this aspect that is the Son of God. Just in different shapes and different forms that better resonated with a certain vibration of people, and that everybody has them in their different shapes and forms.
Exactly. And that's what I want to continue to bring more awareness to, is that we are all that being. We are all the Son of God. We are all the human embodiment of God, experiencing God's creation. God lives within us. There's no sense of separation. So people need to get.
I would add, before you
go ahead,
I would add that the Son of God lives in us, as us, as
and
us,
around
and
us.
for us.
Yeah,
and for us. Because I used to say like spirit moves with and through me, and then somebody said spirit moves with, through, and as you, and I said, I like that.
Yeah, you're embodying that. Like, there's no separation at all. And as soon as you start to speak in ways of separation, then at the same time, simultaneously, you're pushing your abilities away by doing that, because you're not realizing that the very divine, the very God that you're preaching to, essentially, you're talking to yourself. You're talking to inner, deeper parts of yourself that you haven't seen just yet, or haven't experienced just yet. It goes beyond seeing or feeling. It has to be experienced. And when you combine the divine experience with the human experience, already do you start to put yourself on the path of returning home.
Mm-hmm. If you look at the word heart, because it is the bridge, And if you just, there's so many ways you can look at this. And I use words as a way to explain it to people. If you break up the word heart, you get he and you get art. He in Hebrew was the breath. That's what it was. Art is the essence of creation itself. It is the artistry of being able to craft, and
he who creates art.
Yeah, that breathes life
he who
into
creates.
Exactly. And that's creation. And Neville, as we were talking about, he said, and I believe in the Bible it says this too, and different cultures say this in their own way, that creation is finished. Everything that will ever be created is already finished. It's just in some form. Just like we have liquid, we have the ice, that's the solid, and then we have the gas version of it. Everything exists. It just needs to be seen by densifying it through a form. And so what Neville talked about was that it is the essence of receptivity. It is being receptive to this creation that is within you, that's as you. And when you're receptive to creation is already finished, I just need to manifest. That's where manifestation came from, because we already realized everything is already created. The work has already been done. We just have to be willing to match the frequency, just like a radio station. Yeah. Every single radio station, every frequency already exists. You just have to attune your radio to the right station, and you will be able to access that information. The same thing is with this vessel. This vessel is a signal. It is a transmitter as well as a receiver. The brain is a receiver, and it receives through the five senses. But it also receives when the eyes are closed and there's no senses. It receives through the pineal gland, which I call the first eye. And you were able to receive these frequencies and this information that then through language, you're able to translate it and know how to act in your power. So intuition, it's into, which is the breakdown of it. Intuition, ion, which is a energy.
Yeah.
Into is to feel and sense. And two also breaks down to look over, to consider, to watch over. So this intuition, which you can break down to the word tutor, it's a tutor. It helps you to be able to live in your reality when you don't always know the answers. Listen to your tutor. You have the ability to get guidance through anything and anything that's navigating. Once you silence and you attune yourself and be willing to be open beyond what your rationality or what your experience has shown you up to this point.
Memory.
Exactly. Memory.
One thing, well, first of all, the reason why I was getting so excited over here is that we were supposed to record last week.
Yeah.
And I got some questions prepared. And I just found them. I was like, ooh, let's get it. So I thought I came in here a little unprepared, not unprepared, but leaning towards spontaneity. But we got a little bit of order and chaos up in here. So shout out to that. There is one question I do want to ask you right now. When it comes to, because I consider myself a mystic, I'm walking in the mystic path. And I have a devotion towards that. Even through my failures, even through any type of afflictions or attachments, I always find myself catered for that path, built for that path. And I'm ready to break this cycle of which I placed upon myself. But in your own words, describe mysticism to you, or neomysticism, in which you like to call it.
So first, mist. What do we consider a mist to be? A mist is
light rain,
and it has that quality to it that you can see it, but you can't really see through it. Like you have to kind of go through it, kind of like fog, but fog is a lot more thicker. You're able to see it and go, and it gives you this mysterious type of energy to it. Which, if you look at the word mysterious, it starts with MYST, which mysterious.
Yeah.
That to be a mystic, going into that first, that is the essence of going into the mist, the unknown, the mysteries, the mysterious, and being able to dive into that aspect of life, which is the subtleties, the subliminal, which is the he who cannot be named or name cannot be said.
The indescribable.
Exactly. And so a mystic, for me, it is the ability of a person being able to dive into those who has decided to dive into that path of life.
Yeah.
Now, a neo-mystic, we were talking about, your intro was talking about Neo. Neo was an individual that decided that he wanted to basically, he wanted to break out of the matrix, or he wanted to fully embody himself.
Rearrange the letters, you get the one.
Yeah. And so, which goes into Neo meaning first, it meaning newest. It going into the neocortex, which the neocortex is the newest cortex that has to do with rationality and thinking. So a neo-mysticism, to be a neo-mystic for me, is to be able to dive into a new way of diving into the mysteries within the age of Aquarius, which now we have outer technologies.
Innovation. It's everything about innovation, evolution.
Yeah. And to not only to know,
rebellion.
but to know how.
Yeah. Revolution, rebellion, all of that.
And somebody saw this, and we're going to go back to Neo. I saw this on Instagram where a guy was talking about rebel, and you break down the word. And I said, this is so interesting. It's to rebel. A bell helps you attune yourself back to a state of healing, to rebel, to tune yourself back to that state of healing. And Aquarius being the essence of doing that, the water bearer, the one who has this water and that is pouring it into other people, that is pouring and pouring and pouring. That's
talking about Aquarius, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what kind of fools people too, is that it's a water bearer, but it's a air sign as well. And I think
because where is it pouring from, and what is it pouring? It's not pouring water in a sense. It is because the property of it is flow, but it's really pouring ether.
Yeah, and when we think about,
it's pouring information, inform.
When
information.
We think about the air as well, the air is reminiscent to the mind and new ideas, and I think everything's aligned perfectly because it has to start within the mind. A new perception has to start with new ideas and new ways to look at, like we were discussing earlier, new ways to confront the subconscious mind, which means to confront our past, to confront the memory, confront history, and realize that not only has our own individual subjective history and memory has been tainted by ourselves, but overall human history has been tainted as well. And we have been led down certain paths to believe that we are lesser than who we are and that we are just quote unquote mere animals. But animals do not have the levels of consciousness that we have.
They don't have the need. They don't have the cortex, is the neocortex that we have.
Exactly.
Or at least they don't have it to the extent that we have it. So it goes into that now with this development of rationality and things of that nature, we have the ability to advance our understanding of the unknown, the mysteries, by utilizing that aspect. Because back then, mystics and everything like that, it was purely a subjective experience. It was purely subjective and subliminal. And it didn't have the essence of, it had the essence of experimentation, but not the scientific and the essence of the way that we do it now. Now we have the ability to deeply explore it, and not only subjectively, but objectively look at this thing called the mysteries.
Yeah.
Now we're able to look at you know what I'm saying, etheric fields, biofields, electromagnetic fields.
I look at it as a way and as a path of not only realizing the sciences and the truth within ourselves, but also the ability to look at the truth that binds us all as well. Because there's no such thing as just objective truth and subjective truth, because there's a bunch of people out there that's like, when I say my truth, they're like, your truth. Like, what does that mean? Like, there's no such thing as your truth.
Just like your soul, you know what I'm saying? A soul, the soul, you know what I'm saying? It's the soul family. Soul being the one, you know what I'm saying? It is the one. Soul, you know what I'm saying? S-O-L, as you're saying, it's the sun. In Greek, that's, you know what I'm saying? That's soul, that's the sun.
That's the energy provider.
And now I always do this for people to know the difference. S-O-U-L is your sun.
It's not polite
your soul.
It's not polite to point. I said that on my first video. It's not polite to point. I'm just playing.
Yeah, that's the difference between soul, as we talked about before. I think it was Brahman. I forget Brahma and Hatman, right?
Brahman and Atman.
Brahman and Atman. That you have, you know what I'm saying, soul, S-O-L, and then you have yours, your individual, the you in soul, S-O-U-L.
But all they're doing is playing the game of hide and seek and realizing that, oh, we're one of the same.
Yeah.
It's just all men has subjective reality, but Brahman is the ultimate reality. And it's like the collective unconscious, pretty much. You have your own unconscious of the things that you've been through in your life, but the collective unconscious is the accumulation of everybody's consciousness, everybody's subconscious, everybody's events that they went through and their teachings and the wisdom and also their own imagination and where they see themselves in the future. It's the accumulation of all of that. So all these things are happening all at the same time, simultaneously. There is no such thing, like I said again, there's no such thing as separation. They are all connected into oneness. It's just we have the capacity to understand it in intricate little parts and break it down.
And that's the beauty of it that we have now, that we have the brain developed the way we do, the neocortex and all these different things, because we have the ability to analyze and reflect, absorption and reflection. We have the ability with our thinking capacity to be able to look at the individual parts and understand the whole. Because as the CIA said, you know what I'm saying, this is a holographic reality, exactly. Which means that every small thing has every part of the whole. And that by looking at one small thing, like a turtle shell and how it looks like this, or how a hurricane looks like a spiral, and how in torus fields and all those different things reflect the Earth's torus field, that we have the ability now to look at the parts. And I forget what the Greeks called it. It was called dissolve, and I don't remember the actual term for it, but it was dissolve and combine. And it's this essence of being able to do that. Just like when you watch a kid build up the big old Lego pieces, the big Lego thing, and then they tear it back down and they look at the individual parts.
Lego set.
Yeah, Lego set.
There you go. I got you.
Yeah, so we have that ability to do that now within the essence of wonder and exploration, instead of doing it from a place of separation, in essence of you're different from me, but wanting to understand from the littlest detail of how you are exactly like me while still being different. And that's the essence of neomysticism. Being a neomystic is that element of doing that in this vibration, in this song of life that we're in this rhythm, we have the ability of developing both our inner technologies, which is, you know, the chakras, whatever you call them, and the outer technologies, which is being able to play around with the internet and all these different things, which are just a reflection of the inside. We have both now to do things on a higher level because we're in a different age.
Speaking of technology, you're a big advocate for artificial intelligence and how it can be a benefit towards the human race. Mm-hmm. But how does it bring benefit to Traydon.Inspires? And also, what do you plan on using it for? And how are you using it today?
So first, for me, I don't see artificial intelligence as artificial. Because I don't think that there is a such thing as intelligence that is artificial. It's intelligent.
Well, I mean, the intelligence that it's getting is the foundation of our intelligence as well.
And we're divine beings.
Exactly. So it's like, even no matter how much we build it up to be, it still won't be able to experience all that there is. And the fuel for artificial technology is us. We are the gasoline for it to be powered. So I see what you're going with. I see what you're doing.
Yeah. So
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And me, for instance, because we're building it and we're highly intelligent, sentient beings, I don't see it more so as artificial intelligence, but I see it as more so a reflection of our intelligence, of our state of vibration. That when you feed, let's say you feed an AI your information, what you have learned, the books you've read, you are feeding it a reflection of you. So I see I feel like we can't create anything that is not us. So what we call artificial intelligence is a reflection of us that we have created to examine ourselves through another form.
That's true, because everything around us is only a product of who we are, is only a product of what lies within us. Even the very things that maybe that we didn't create by our own hands, since we're already in tune with God and God lives within us and God created all things, essentially we are, again, like we're experiencing God's creation in real time, but we're experiencing certain things that were created by a greater extension of who we are. And I don't know where I was going to go with this, but it's just like, it's hard to put in words. It's just super fascinating that when we run and roll around the grass or we hug trees, climb trees and stuff like that, essentially we created it, but it was a not different, but a certain level of ourselves created.
Yeah, and
that is beyond this body.
We have to look at it this way. I see this with children all the time. Like they call me teacher. They're like, teacher, what is that? And they point at this is how they want to learn. They point at something. They focus their attention on something. They ask you, what is that? If I never told them it was a tree, would they be able to perceive it as a tree? No, because I didn't articulate that that's a tree. So by my articulation of that being a tree within their reality, they now perceive that over there with roots, with the branches, as a tree.
Yeah.
Because of that. So now they have an awareness of it. Just like there's said that if we don't put a name or a name on a shade of blue, we don't see that shade of blue, because we haven't perceived it by putting some name on it so that we're able to point and say that's that. So with artificial intelligence, we're feeding it information saying that's that, feeding it us. And so now when you ask it a question, it's going to give you an answer that's reflective of us. So with you feeding it information on our consciousness, of information, books and all that, is it not a mirror of our collective consciousness? If we have fed it the information that is all that we have experienced, so it then becomes a reflection of us. And then just like nature nature is, and someone said this, and this was so profound to me, that nature is aware that a tree is aware that it's a tree because we are aware that it is a tree.
Go ahead.
And it goes into, and I was like, how's that possible? I said, double slit experiment. When it was not observed, it did whatever it did. As soon as a conscious being such as us observed the atoms,
it responds differently.
It responded differently because of our awareness and observation of it.
Yeah, so it's not just the argument was a particle or a wave. It's both a particle and a wave.
And it's based off of our observation of it. And so same thing with nature. Nature becomes aware of itself through our observation of it. Mm-hmm. If no one observes it, does it exist? Well, you can say it does, but we know from double split experiment how that goes.
It's like the question, if a tree falls in the middle of a forest and nobody's there, did it really fall? Does it make a noise? Have you ever heard that question before?
I heard that.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of people think it's kind of a dumb question, but it's actually like, how do you know? You weren't there. What does it sound like?
Yeah. So so that's the essence of it, that the environment around us, and animate objects are all, because we created it with our energy. Everything vibrates and it moves, right? So it becomes aware of itself because of our awareness and observation of it. So when we feed what we call AI, our information, who we are, books and different things of that nature, it becomes us. It becomes the reflection of us.
A material extension.
Yeah, it becomes an extension of us.
Yeah.
And by that nature, us building that tool, which is just us reflecting ourselves upon ourselves. And if we're feeding it higher consciousness information, then is it not a reflection of your higher self? If that's the information you fed it. Mm-hmm. Because as karma says, what goes around comes around. So if you feed it high vibrational information, it's going to feed you back the same thing. Just like if I go in there and I ask AIR to create me this thing and I give it the specific parameters and the program and the algorithm it has information for that, it will give me that. It will give me that reflection. And maybe in a way that I didn't expect it to. Because what else does that? The subconscious mind. It gives you things that you don't always expect it to be put in this format or that format.
We're noticing a trend here.
Yeah, so that's why I'm a big believer, or I'm more so a big user of it, because I literally see it as a reflection of me when
you're a practitioner.
Yeah, and that's the essence of what I see. And so instead of me calling it artificial intelligence, I really call it like a synthesis intelligence, because it's synthesizing it, and then it's spitting you back out what you have, what it has absorbed. So if I feed it Neville Goddard, and if I feed it the essence of Neville Goddard through his works, because he put his essence in that, he put his print within that works. If I feed him that, and I ask it a question based off information, am I not in a way speaking to Neville Goddard through the information of his work?
Yeah, it's
because
like
we
do the same thing when we speak with our ancestors as well.
Exactly. So it's as we say, consciousness. It's not separate. It just comes in different shapes of forms. This, the table, that over there, AI. It's just another form of consciousness. Exactly.
There is something I want to talk about, but before we get to that, intermission. So didn't do this last episode because I was traveling, had my travel gear with me, and I saw my dad. Shout out to my pops. Today, however, we actually brought back the albums. So I'm a lover of music. I know you're a lover of music. Again, if you need a hook, shout out to my man. So we picked some albums today. I picked an absolute classic, Michael Jackson, off the wall. And the reason why I picked it is because happy birthday to Quincy Jones, which is the co-producer of the album. Phenomenal producer. One of the greatest to ever do it, on the Mount Rushmore, in my opinion, of all producers, because of the way he understood music, how to put it together and just formulate a masterpiece. If you listen to this album, that kind of gives you a glimpse into not only the greatness of a young Michael Jackson before Thriller ever happened and that type of level of success, but also just how well Quincy understood music and the amount of, and also shout out to Rob Timberton as well, because he's a prolific music writer, songwriter. But there was just a lot of superpowers that came together to make this album, and then Thriller after it. Thriller night. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But shout out to Quincy. Happy birthday to Quincy. Shout out to the GOAT, Mr. Mike. But you picked Queen, A Night at the Opera. Do you listen to Queen?
I do not. So I literally just rub my hands together. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pick whatever one vibrates to me. Okay. And then I was like, I feel this, and I picked out two because I know which one it was, and I was like, it's this one. And then that's how this came to be.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad pick at all, because you know Freddie Mercury, correct?
I do not.
Freddie Mercury?
I probably don't know the names. I probably know the.
You probably know his face. He has a mustache, white guy, British. Yeah, he was the showman, the front man for Queen. One of the greatest voices of all time. You know the song "We Are the Champions"? Yeah. Ooh. He made that song. Fantastic voice, like amazing voice. Came with a lot of energy. That is to do with drugs, though. He did do drugs. That doesn't take away from his greatness, however. But like he is probably the greatest band showman of all time because of the amount of energy that he brought, and also his voice. Like, bro, phenomenal. Like he hit some notes. Not only hit them, but maintained notes for a very long period of time, which not a lot of male artists can do that. You know, Mike could do that too. Prince could really do that as well. But Freddie is one of those guys that will go down as a legend for sure. So like you picked I don't know what's all on that album because Malachi picked it up, but no, you didn't have a bad pick at all when you picked Queen. Queen is notorious for good music.
Oh yes.
But yeah, start listening to some Queen, bro.
I guess it's my calling to do so.
Yeah, because you're growing into being a vocalist. So like learn some things from Freddie. It's a rock band. It's mostly rock. But I mean, I like rock music.
I'm open to all types of music.
I'm the only type of music that I'm not really open to is heavy metal. I don't like it when people scream at me like that for no reason. And then country, I don't know. It's just the rhythm of country music that I can't really get with. Now, back when I was playing baseball and we would have warm-ups, I said this on the last episode of the podcast with my pops. That was the one time I could really like listen to country music because it just had you're on the baseball field, you're outside.
It's a certain environment for it. Like I wouldn't just like
sure. Yeah, no. I just can't straight listen to the country. I'm not hating on country or heavy metal. It's just like, it's not my thing. Music is subjective. But yeah, end of intermission. Back to what we were talking about. One thing I did want to mention earlier, but it came back to me, and we were talking about altered states of consciousness and unity consciousness. There's a certain thing called splintered consciousness, if you ever heard of it. And
sounds familiar. Explain it to me.
So essentially, a splintered consciousness is when you're going through the first steps of your awakening and you're leaving certain beliefs behind. It's it's kind of like you're standing on, and like every mystic goes through it. It's the period of time where you realize a lot of the things that you learned and that you integrated and embodied into your life are wrong. So now
They're
you're
all a lie.
Yeah, exactly. It's that moment in life. So it's
You
like,
just look back, you're just like,
exactly. So you have this splinter consciousness that you have
man.
a variety of different learnings that you were taught back in the day.
it sounds like cognitive dissonance, kinda.
Exactly. That's essentially what it is. But also, you know, and
psychosis.
you've learned, you learn certain things that are just like, well, this is the truth of reality, but I have such a attachment to this old reality.
Yeah,
so it's like you're caught in the tug of war pretty much. It's like you want to do this, but you're actually, you want to walk this path of life, the path of a mystic, but you're still stuck in like a 3D type of pattern. And there's certain patterns that
Ooh, Jordan Peterson. One of the things he said, tell the truth. I forget what one of his rules was, but it was basically tell the truth, do not, at least don't lie.
Yes.
Yeah. He said, it was like, he said that when I went through that, he said it was like everything that, and he said, how do you know? And it's basically in a sense of, don't say things that make you feel weak. And when he became aware of this, and he went through this state of just observing, he said that almost 98, I think it was 98, it was somewhere in the 90s, like 98% of everything that he was saying was things that made him feel weak. So he's like, you know what I'm saying? What happens when you realize that almost everything you say is a lie to some degree, and that it makes you feel weak. And it was like, I had to burn off that dead wood, and almost there only being a husk left. And I feel like it's that degree of, you know what I'm saying, that when it happens, it's like, oh my gosh, everything was a lie. Like, it's easier to stick with this, but every time I say this, you're going to hear this, you're lying. And it's going to be like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? And it's definitely a degree where it's definitely that split where it's like, I can go this way or I can go that way. And you have to let people go. People are attached to the way that you were, and so many other things that come with that. You have to physically get rid of stuff.
Oh yeah. I've gotten rid of a lot of things from like people. It was mostly like stuff from exes that I kept that were like actually gifts. And then I just gave it away because it was like, I kind of don't want that energy in my field, regardless if I have respect for this ex or not. It's just like, okay, I want to move away from that energy. I want to bring something new into my life. So it was essentially me doing that was clearing the energy of the past out, because now I have a new relationship with the past, but also I don't have an attachment to it as well. So it's time for me to move forward in a way that was kind of like a ritual of moving forward in my life. But yeah, that's a very tough time.
Dark night of the sun.
Yeah, exactly. But also it's like, I realized it's like when you learn too much, it's harder to go back than it is to move forward. It's so much easier to move forward now with a new foundation of knowledge.
That's almost like when you're the visualization that came to mind is like, it's you and then it's also you, and there's a rabbit hole in front of you, and you just push. I'm gonna push you on 3, 1.
That's essentially, and that's crazy too that you said that, because that's essentially what faith is. It's taking a leap, literally the leap of faith. It's like you're on the cliff and you're jumping, not expecting to be caught, but you know that you're going to get caught by something. You know something's going to catch you. You're just jumping. Yeah,
and it's that essence that where you go down a rabbit hole and you're researching this, you're researching that, you're researching this, you're researching that, and it moves from this fear and this deep almost, because you go through a sadness. You go through a sadness as a deep sadness, but then as you gain this information, you apply it, you start to find a deep appreciation. And as I always tell people, the highs get higher and the lows get lower. You feel a lot more vulnerable. You become more conscious of your mortality, but also, you know what I'm saying, your immortality as well. And
that's when you start to learn the paradox. And like a lot of people can't take that paradox. It's like we grew up in the world where it's like it's either or and nothing in between. And now you're learning the in between is just like it's both either or. It's not one or the other. It's like we're living in a subjective but an objective reality. I'm living as alt-men but also Brahmin at the same time. So it's
right.
like
and it's that first person and third person narrative and the author all at the same time.
And that's when you realize that, okay, some people are like, I have to wrap my mind around this. I have to think logically and practically about it. And also it brought up a question earlier when we were talking about artificial intelligence. Is like, what is intelligence? Because a lot of people, when you think about intelligence, you think about the rational mind, you think about practicality, analysis, and all of that. But in the ancients, what the ancients have taught is that, and also it was in the gateway process, is that when you don't rely too heavily on left brain thinking, logistical, analytical type of thinking, practical thinking, and allow intuition to come in and creativity to come in, that's a whole different level of intelligence that not only that doesn't degrade left brain intelligence, but is meant to be merged. And that's what the gateway process is merging the two brains to have an out of body experience.
That's why you got two brains. That's why you got two sides. You got the eye of Horus and the eye of Ra. You know what I'm saying? And intelligence, because I always, and I find this with almost all words, that you'll find the definition of the word in the word and how it sounds. Anytime I see in at the beginning of a word, it means inner. It means I have to go in. Intel. You know what I'm saying? Intel, to tell. What do you do when you're telling somebody something? You're having a conversation. You're going into a dialogue of sorts.
Yeah. You're breaking it down pretty much.
Yeah. And
I don't mean this. You feel me?
And you can also look at tail as far as, you know what I'm saying, heads and tails, your tail. You can look at it as Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail, that goes in a circle.
Reincarnation, pretty much.
Yeah, so intelligence is this I would say, for me at least, I see it as this inner conversation. It's this inner knowing.
A lot of those ideas are being recycled, but when they're being recycled, they're being told in different ways.
Exactly. So intelligence, it's all the same, and it comes from inner. If it was, and it comes from the inside, right? So a lot of people, when they think about intelligence, they think of observation and study and all of those. They think of the outside. But if intelligence had to do with the outside, it'd be called extelligence. It's not called that. It's called intelligence.
All knowledge stems from within. Exactly. And everything, like we were speaking about earlier, everything is just a reflection of that inner knowledge, of that inner essence.
So true intelligence come from inside. And where does intelligence come from? Intuition. That's why all these words have the word in at the beginning.
Exactly. And that brings us back to mysticism and the difference between mysticism and spirituality. Spirituality and religion especially revolves around that external knowledge, or the belief that knowledge that you seek, that divine knowledge you seek, is external, is the man in the sky, or your ancestors, or and spirituality is in a lot of ways gotten away from the essence of what it is, because it's in the words spirit. We take out the ality, it's spirit. What is spirit? Spirit is the breath. In the Bible, force. that's when God breathed the breath into the vessel, or you know what I'm saying, brought yourself within this beingness. Spirit is the breath. It is breathing, which, as you said, is the life force. It's energy. Energy. Mm-hmm. In inner.
G, God, your inner God.
Inner gangster.
That's your inner G. Yeah.
Inner G, you feel me?
Yeah. And so if you look at this, what does that mean? Well, what is the last note or the last note on a piano? It's G. Why is that? G is 7. That's the 7th letter within the alphabet. What does 7 mean? God created the creation in 7 days. There's 7 chakras.
The 7 colors of the 7 colors of the rainbow, which is the spectrum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the energy is this interness. It's that which created completion, which is often represented by that G. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about, you know what I'm saying, when we're talking about energy, when we're talking about spirituality, it is the understanding the life force, the breath, as being the essence of completion. And then when you fully breathe and fully breathe out, wahe vahe, the breath. When you fully do this, when you fully go into that essence, that you are tapping into your energy, your inner God, yourself. And that's what it's, and every practice in spirituality is supposed to be you coming back to that essence through a form of utilizing the breath and the energies. Mm-hmm. Mysticism is summed up very simply. I would say mysticism is basically the study of and the constant elevated awareness of I am.
Yeah.
Or if you want to add, I am God.
Yeah.
That is the essence of what
things. I am the one. I am all.
That is I am the one. That is the essence of what mysticism does. And all of its studies and diving into is the greater and greater awareness of that fact.
Yeah. So when I look at it, I see religion as a source of, while there is a lot of knowledge within religion and a lot of truth within religion, it's being told in a way that is directing division and war amongst people, and like, trying to fight against people.
It's like you're gonna go to this person's gonna go to hell because they don't believe in what I believe in, and we know that believe is to be lie, and it puts a cap. So it's all of these different things, and religion, right? I like to say that religion is the representation of how vivid our imagination is.
Yeah.
It's so the fact, like, if you look at some of the mythologies and the Bible, like how our imagination could not, in a sense, in some ways, conceptualize us being the creator of all things, being able to then go in our imagination and externalize, like, oh, that's that tree over there, that's a god, that's an elf, it's so interesting when you look at it from the essence of it. The religion brings you back, or at least I see it that way from my perception now, is that it brings you back to that imaginative state of I am God. When you realize that everything is symbolic and that it has allegories and metaphors, everything.
And that brings me back to what Jordan Peterson was talking about, is that the power of storytelling and that the power of mythology and folklore has impacted humanity for years. Like, we love and are driven by storytelling, whatever it is. And there's so many different mediums to tell a story. Mm-hmm. Music, film, painting, basketball, even sports. There's so many different ways to tell a story, but humanity has relied upon that sense of creating story, because no other intelligence on the planet Earth has the ability to do that besides humanity. And through stories, we make it easier to tell lessons.
Yeah, and conceptualize the unconceptualizable.
Exactly. And that was what I was talking about, how we have the ability we don't know. There's no such thing as a material. There's no such thing as a being in the material realm being able to fully understand and put into words God, which is absolutely formless, indescribable, incomprehensible.
Yeah, we can
don't even try, but you can fragment it into certain understandings.
You can get as, you know what I'm saying, you can get as close to the sun as possible, but you know what I'm saying,
Does that remind you of Adam and God? They're not touching, but you can
get close, because language in and itself is only a reflection. When as some say that we are God experiencing itself and identified ourselves within this realm of duality, by us being in duality, anything we create cannot conceptualize with our brains fully what we are. And because we cannot do that, it gives us the ability to experience this world and fully experience what it means to be in this life, which I break down life in it means learning institution for earthlings. That's what I see life as. It's a learning institution. And
Earth is nothing but a school at the end of the day.
For real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to go to Hogwarts, here we are. You know what I'm saying? We learn. We're here.
It's a ground for experience, and our perception of our experience is what drives those lessons to be learned. It's either we have a perception of hell on earth or heaven on earth.
Yeah,
which
are both the same. They're the same.
But we're all in the same place. That's why I was saying, like, it's a war of perception, because we want to think. There's people out there that want us to think of Earth as a battleground rather than a school, and that we have to.
That's their path. You know what I'm saying? And them looking at the world that way affects how they interact with the world. Like we're talking about heaven, hell, and all those. You can look at the different states of being that you're in, gives you different abilities of looking at the world in different ways.
Different states of beings are different states of vibration and frequency.
Yeah, what do people always say? You know what I'm saying? I like your vibe, I don't like your vibe. You got some weird vibes, like vibration. And one of Bob Proctor once said that feeling is the conscious awareness of vibration. When you feel this emotion, or you feel this state or this way, you're becoming consciously aware of the vibration that you're in.
Yeah, that's what The Secret was all about, is that feeling is the answer.
Yeah, because
and that's when you fully get in tune with intuition. You can't just sit down and think about intuition. You can't. It's a different level of intelligence.
And it is that conscious awareness of vibration and realizing that you can influence the way that you feel. And when you meet your feeling with an intention, you're able to exist on a different plane, or you're able to exist on a different planet, because plane and planet are the same. Just plane planet is plane with the word T. You know what I'm saying? A T being the body. And one of the things that I've found is that with heaven, hell, and all those different things, if you break it down, and someone did a podcast on this, it was so interesting. Hell, if you add another E, you get heel. Your heel, your feet. Heaven, headven.
Yeah. I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then your heart, which is earth. And so you choose where you want to dwell, and hell doesn't become a bad place. But why they call it a lake of fire? Because from my understanding, it is a space of purification. That's why it's a lake of fire. Fire is the essence of sacrifice and purification. And so when you put yourself in a lake of fire, you're purifying. You're like the phoenix.
Yeah, and that's what they mean when it's like, if you fully want to learn something and experience something, you have to throw yourself in the fire. You have to throw yourself in the fire to experience that.
And that's exactly what they're talking about. And it goes into the essence of Carl Jung and what he said, if you wanted to reach heaven, your roots have to reach deep down in hell. You have to purify.
Yeah.
You have to.
You have to understand the duality of things. And that's what I meant to say this earlier. When you look at the fish that represents Jesus, take away the tail and you have the oval, the diamond looking shape, which is the Vectus Pisces, which is where Jesus and the Buddha sits, primarily the Buddha, like you, and also Jesus as well. You see it in some of the,
which is the eye, which you can say is,
you know what I'm saying? But also it's like the compare and contrast. It lies in the middle, which is the middle way.
The Venn diagram, you know,
and
like,
it doesn't lie on just chaos or order. It takes the qualities of both and lies in the middle,
which is in the observer in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Being able to observe within neutrality, which is the essence of being able to take that middle way and deciding if you want to color your reality with this viewpoint or that viewpoint by your own consciousness, right? And exactly the what you're talking about, that goes into the essence of what Pisces is the two fish. It's the two sides. It's the two sides that's connected by a thread that are seemingly going away from each other, but they're exactly the same thing. And Pisces being the last sign that you have to go through, and it being in the last house, which is the house of undoings. It going back to that essence of those cycles and our whole reality going through that. You know what I'm saying? The 12 hours, the 12 zodiac signs and all those different things. And now we finding out that there's more, but within the foundational understanding, that 12 aspect, which 1 plus 2, A plus B equals C, right? The alpha, Beth, equals the C, and which is the creative principle, that you have spiritual understanding when you're in the state of the Trinity. When you have the sun and the moon, and then you have the Mercury that's able to move between the two, which is Hermes, which is Thoth, which is the communication of those aspects, being able to express it, which is the inner child, which is learning how to be, but also which when you be, you do as your being, and then you have. So when you be, you will naturally be able to naturally do, act as if, embody, and then you have as that person has on that frequency that you decide that you want to dwell on, which is not separate from the other ones. And that's why you can be fully in love and joy, and then you can see a poor person over there or this person, because there's no division between the two. And someone once said this, that we are shifting into a new vibration, that because you can see poverty, war, and violence doesn't mean that it's a truth within your reality. It's just like a glass. Like you can see it, but because you're not on that vibration, it cannot touch you.
Yeah.
Unless you allow it to. The same thing with
like auto suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing with curses and all those different things. That's why
or bad luck and stuff like that.
All those different things. And when you believe in those things like voodoo and all of this, then it has effect over you. When you believe in demons and all these different things, then they have power over you. But when you understand that you created that conceptualization within your existence, that you can choose another. And that is the essence of becoming a magician. A person who's able to play with magic. Magic being
alchemy. You're forging lead through the fire of alchemy to create gold, and finding the inner gold, pretty much.
Yeah, and the inner
we were talking about the circle. The circle is a huge part in alchemy. The triangle, then the square, and then the circle.
Yeah, all in repositions.
Yeah, and it constantly goes within each other and expound upon each other as well. It's like if you were to zoom out of the triangle with the square and the circle in it, there will be nothing but another circle, and then another square, and then another triangle, and it goes on forever. Even when, no matter if you zoom out from it or zoom into it, it's just infinite. It's that same process over and over and over again.
It's like you playing it. You're playing a infinite game. You're with multiple levels that you can keep going up and down, up and down, up and down, and such.
Yeah.
And so we forget to go through the pleasure of remembering again, then forget again just to go through the pleasure of remembering again. Because that's the fun aspect of being able to exist and be, is that constant forgetting and remembering. And as Neville said, he said, I may forget where I am, who I am, what I am, but I cannot forget that I am.
Exactly.
I may conceive of myself as a rich man, poor man, beggar man, but the center of my being remains the same.
I am.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And no matter what concept, I can conceptualize myself any way possible to interact with the world in that way. But once I understand that I am, that's all I need.
That's another thing that the Buddha says, is that attachment will lead us into greater suffering. It's suffering. And what this attachment is implying that we're talking about is attaching ourselves to certain labels and certain labels and identifications. And when we label ourselves with identifications, we're automatically limiting who we are.
Exactly.
And if I were and also Carl Jung was talking about the archetypes. All the archetypes live within us. There may be certain archetypes that we lean toward more and that we show more.
And we go through our lives.
But the problem is when we identify with a certain archetype,
then we can't transverse into another one.
Exactly.
Because we're always going through all of them. Just like people identify with a zodiac sign. Well, we're going through all of them throughout our lives. We're going through, just like the universe itself is going through different cycles with the different planets being in different places. We're constantly going through this cycle. So there was
we're in the cycle of Aquarius right now.
Exactly. And Jay Shady has said this. I forget where he got this quote from, but he was like, detachment isn't that I own nothing. Detachment is that nothing owns me. And that's the difference between that, is that nothing owns you, that you're able to be as you please. You're able to be the actor on stage that realizes that when they take that acting role off, that they just are, that you can decide to play any role, put on any mask, and then take it off when you please.
Every day when I wake up, I realize that I'm an actor and I'm playing in a different movie than I was the other day. That's essentially what it is. I'm an actor and life is my play, essentially. And I get to act in this play however I please to. That's
what Shakespeare, he was like, life is a theater.
Yeah.
And I was like, it definitely is. And we play different roles.
But what is the ongoing theme here is that when we let go of an attachment to the analytical mind and start bringing in more awareness towards our creativity and feeling, that's when we start to uncover the greatness and the truth behind ancient teachings. Because it was through that storytelling that they started to realize who they were. It was through that storytelling that they
using their imagination.
Yeah, it was through that storytelling and that imagination in which helped them uncover the truth of not only of who they are and their self-realization, but also the realization of all things, and the realization of all things are from within us rather than around us as well. And that's why creativity is a medium that I lean upon so much, is because it's creativity. Our job is to create because we are one with the creator. We're not only the creation, but we are the creator as well. And we get to create within the creation itself. That's our job.
Be fruitful.
Yeah.
Be plenty and be fruitful. I think that's what it was told in the ancient book, the Bible, is, you know what I'm saying, be plentiful and be fruitful. It wasn't just talking about in, you know what I'm saying, in having a bunch of babies and different things like that. It was talking about in manifesting your ideas. And going into that, the essence, the word human. And I saw this, I had heard this somewhere, and I was like, I love this.
Light beam.
Is hue is colors. Man is the essence of manifestation and creation. So a human is the ability to be able to create different forms and colors within
Through light.
Through light.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because a lot of people
And
call
the
me
Matrix.
Hugh because my name is Houston, but they break it down to Hugh, and they automatically, by saying that name, you're calling me light.
Exactly, because when you look at hues, comes from the light, the sun, the soul that comes through the prism and creates this experience that is life. And by us being able to understand this, we're able to blend the colors and the ways however we please, different angles, angels being different angles and perspectives that we can be able to play within this thing called life.
Exactly. And I think it's pretty interesting how when you die, you see that white light, or whenever people take certain psychedelics and DMT and they see a white light.
Yeah, and even in Qigong.
Yeah, and they see that white light. And what that white light represents is a lack of separation or division or being splintered into different colors. It's before those different colors. It is the main essence of which those colors come from is the light. And that light is God.
Exactly. And one of the things my mentor had told me, but with the first eye, was that before it was a pineal gland in our head, it was actually an eye that was on top of our head. And he referred to it as the clear eye. And it was the eye that saw the white, you know what I'm saying, that was intercepted by the crown.
Yeah.
Before it was, you know what I'm saying, as some people say, to be right here. Mm-hmm. And it is that essence of being able to receive this pure light that is called, that some call ether and all these different things. And being able to manifest as we please within our experience. And just as some say, that's, as it said, life is a dream.
Yep.
It is.
It's a dream that's very much real, but at the same time, you can't take too seriously.
And someone once said that when you learn lucid dreaming, and you're able to affect the dream world, and then you see what you affect in the dream world affect your real world, that you start to basically see both of them as one and the same, where it's like you can't tell if you're in the dream world or you're in the real world because they start to mirror each other.
Yeah.
And they had said that when that happens, you start to realize that everything is the same and there's no division, that what we call the dream world is just the exact same as this world. And some of the reasons why we cannot lucid dream, or it's hard for some people, is this rational understanding of this separation. Mm-hmm. And that a lot of us used to do when we were children, going back to that inner child, is because of this lack of separation. That there in a way had to be a degree of, when a child asks, what is this? And you tell them, that you also explain to them and show them how to be able to see things for themselves and realize that when I say that tree, I'm not saying that that is something outside of you. You're not pointing anything outside of you. You're pointing to something that is you as well.
Yeah.
And when you do that, those same children are able to hear the trees. They're able to hear the vibration and interpret that.
My bad.
Yeah, and they're able to speak to the tree. They're able to speak to the wind. They're able to interact with these forces.
It's like the Alchemist. The Alchemist. What's his name? The main character from The Alchemist. Was it What was his name?
That's a.
You never read that book?
I never read that book.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it. Not going to spoil it. That's a definite book that you should read. Fantastic book. Just forgot the main character's name, but there's certain things that he does that is just like really like hitting home on what you're saying right now. But I'm not going to lie. We do have to wrap this up a little bit. So I have one more question for you. And this question goes with what I do here at Mind is Mind to help transcend consciousness. At least that's the short way of saying it. How do you, Mr. Traydon, and Traydon.Inspires as a brand, not only as a person, contribute to the evolution and transcendence of human consciousness?
So for me, I help people to access and be receptive to their inner child, and which gives them access to a full range of things. Whether it's storming. It is definitely storming. It gives them a full range of being able to tap back into their psychic abilities, their healing abilities, their dreaming aspect, their imagination, all those things. So I help people to tap back into their inner child. Mm-hmm. And
that creative aspect, because the inner child represents the purest form of creation.
Right. It definitely does.
And being able to be a raw channeler for that creation to come about.
Yeah. So I help people to be able to do that through artistic means and playing with different things, just being spontaneous. So I do a 12 session, basically 3 months, 90 minutes with an individual to dive into that aspect, as well as helping people realize with AI art.
Dang.
They going in with
Dang.
AI art and music and all of those different things as well.
Okay. Nice. Yes, sir. I've experienced some of the things you've been creating. I've been seeing it firsthand, and I'm very excited to see where your path leads you and how we can cross paths, because we have very, very similar purposes and vehicles. You know that Mind is Mind is wanting to be one of the leaders in evolution and consciousness by bringing the power of our mind back to others, rewriting the subconscious mind, rewriting what it means to have a mind and how to use it, because this world that we live in, and word to the law of mentalism in the Kabbalion and the Hermetic principles and Hermetic teachings, is that the entirety of this reality is all within the mind of God. And we are nothing but a thought in the mind of God. And everything that happens, this entire experience, is nothing but a concept within the mind of God. But our own subjective minds have the power to co-create. But the problem is that we're allowing our minds and ourselves even to be our own enemy, because not only is the mind the greatest tool to ever exist, along with the body being the greatest vessel, the greatest machinery to ever exist, but it also is the world's most dangerous tool as well. The same creation, the same tool that created some of the greatest things that humanity has ever seen has also created some of the worst things that humanity has ever seen. You know, we've created education systems, we've created music, we've been vessels for so many beautiful things that has helped transcend humanity as a species. But also at the same time, it's the same place in which the atomic bomb was created, where weapons of mass destruction were created. So it's like we have to understand the full scope of the power of the mind and how we can use the mind as a tool to reawaken ourselves and realize who we are and realize the truth of what reality actually is. And like I said, it's the word is perception, and there's a war of perception going on, and I want to be on the side that reinvigorates the truth behind the mind and the power of mentalism, and also the power of the body, and how when it's coupled and connected with our spirit, connected with the true essence of our being, God, the universe, whatever you may call it, we can fully create the life that we choose to through our own karma. And I mean, it aligns with everything that you're saying here. So, yeah. So how can people reach you?
One way you can reach me is on my website at Traydon.Inspires.com. That's Traydon Inspires.com. You can also reach me at my Instagram at Traydon.Inspires, Traydon.Inspires, and Instagram by not Instagram, TikTok by the same name.
Yeah, TikTok is kind of in a weird spot now. It just got banned yesterday.
Yeah.
Congress just banned it unless if what's his name, whoever owns it, decides to sell the platform. I've never been a TikTok type of guy, but while TikTok is still up, go check my man's out.
And YouTube, in case I switch to YouTube Shorts, so YouTube, Traydon.Inspires as well.
Yes, sir. Hey, you have the choice to be your own hero or your greatest enemy. It lies within the mind and how you take care of your body, and especially how you listen to your body, because that's where you find intuition. Feeling is key. It's not all about rational thinking. It's not all about analytical and practical thinking. It's about what can you create. It's about embodying the inner child, as my man Traydon said, embodying your imagination, the present moment. And to take us back to one of the first things that we talked about, for this to be full circle, the present moment is where the wisdom of memory, the wisdom of the past can be fully realized and be used to create the future that we desire through our imagination. So the true power is being present and realizing the power of the present moment and realizing the power of ourselves that lies within the present moment. Other than that, you have any final words?
Stay inspired and stay aligned.
Yes, sir. We out of here.
Thank you for staying after the video. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment if you want to. Come on, bro. Share your voice. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And also check out my blog. Link in the description. Thank you very much. And y'all have a great day. Namaste. Blessings.